Good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order at 10:03 a.m. Roll call.
Commissioners Brown. Present. Harris.
Present.
Herr.
Present.
McCracken. Present. Paris.
Present.
Vice Chair Little.
Present.
Chairman Mercy.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great. Okay. If everyone would stand, Commissioner McCracken is going to lead us in our invocation.
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Please join me in prayer if you choose. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of this community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect all of us and those around us. And continue to remind us that everything we do here today, all that we accomplish is for the greater glory of you and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Commissioner Herr, would you lead us in our pledge?
Pledge, yes, sir. Everybody remain stand and the face to the flag. Just ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up we have the consent calendar, which just includes approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look those over? If so, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner McCracken, second.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Little. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, use your voting machine. Oh, actually, I need to abstain on that. I was absent last year. I hit the wrong button. Let's do that again real quick. Yeah, there we go. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Commission staff presentations, updates, and reports. First up, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Mic check. Okay, we're good. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lawrence Green. I am your Community Relations Deputy for Lancaster Sheriff's Station. My primary role is to interact with the community in a positive manner, provide any feedback or attend events that would help bridge the gap or interact with the local station. I have been out the last 3 weeks due to medical issues, so my answers to you guys, if you do have any questions, are going to be very limited. Okay, so just please bear with me here. Today we'll be going over our November comp stats. We always go 2 months back because that's the most accurate stats in case anything changes. Sometimes reports come out, and when we arrive, they're no longer reports. They were just something simple to address, which no longer needed a report number. However, we do generate report numbers, and we can actually nullify them if they're not needed anymore. So that's why we always go 2 months back to get the most accurate stats. The stats you see on the board here, or to my right on this PowerPoint presentation, is a 5-year and 1-year comparison. In 2023, which is your column all the way to the right, and then you have a 5-year change and a 1-year change at the end. What I like to go over is the 1-year change because it's the most recent change. It's the last column on the right, okay? So we'll be going through that to address the stats and things of that nature. You have your actual Lancaster City, and then you have your unincorporated areas. We're going to go with Lancaster City since this is the City Crime Commission. At the top, you have a 125% change in Lancaster for criminal homicides, okay? Criminal homicides have obviously skyrocketed over the year, and this does not really include, it only includes non-deputy involved incidences or shootings, if that makes sense. So what you see there is a 125% increase, which is actually horrendous. The station total is 141% increase in total. Your forcible rape, that's the next column down, for the city of Lancaster is actually down by 5%, which is very good. Your total overall is 5.95%. For robberies, you're going to be at 4.46% down in Lancaster City, 1.81% overall. Your aggravated assaults for the city of Lancaster are going to be down 5%, 4.55% overall. Your burglaries down 12%, 12.18, down by 9 in the total, 9.60% in total. Your larceny and thefts for the city of Lancaster down 13%. Overall theft down 16.47%. Your grand theft auto slightly up by 4%. Your total is 8.14%. You can see in the unincorporated areas it's actually gone up by 26%. So it seems like the city, that's actually a good thing, because in my view of this, it looks like those flock cameras are kind of pushing them out to the unincorporated areas, which is why you see a rise in the unincorporated areas versus the city, because now you have a higher chance of getting caught. So we're slowly working our way and pushing them outwards, which is a good sign. Your arson is
Question
down.
on the,
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but I had a question on the Grand Theft Auto.
Yes.
A few months ago, you talked about the videos that were online showing how to steal certain cars. Does there seem to be a connection between that?
Yes,
and
absolutely,
this crime?
Chairman Mercy. So, and I actually am glad you brought that up, because we're going to be having an event soon to fix and repair these digital, these Hondas. So the Hondas have the ability to be broken into through the starter and then using a USB connector, starting up the engine. Well, there's a hot fix that Honda has created, and what they will be doing is they'll be doing a hot fix, a digital hot fix on the car, and it will be held at the fairgrounds. So stand by for the advertising for that, because it's coming up very soon. I don't have any times and dates for you currently, but the trap unit, which is our theft unit for vehicles, they're working in partner with Hyundai for certain year vehicles to be eligible for this hot fix. And while you're there, we'll be dishing out clubs as well. So these clubs, believe it or not, I know they're old school, but they work better than any alarm you will ever have, because obviously you're gonna have to cut through that club in order to get it off, okay? So I highly suggest that if you do have something in that nature, get a club. They're completely free at this event, and I'm trying to obtain some more for the station. I usually get about 25 at a time, and then I'll get you guys some free clubs for whoever wants them for the community, absolutely.
And kind of separate but related, how are things on catalytic converter thefts?
The catalytic converter thefts are still going around. The whole objective is because some of it was coordinated, is to have the LANCAP team do a coordinated effort to find the bulk of the thefts. Then you have the stragglers that, you know, they're just turning it in for money. But the city has done a great job in making sure they enforce rules for the recycling places to for accepting catalytic converters, right? We want to make sure that they're not accepting stolen ones. So the city has enforced, you know, rules and regulations on the recycling places out in the city to make sure that it becomes invaluable trying to turn it into a recycling place. So they've already took measures in that, which I'm completely grateful for.
Thank you.
It's Captain Paul Bartlett here. I'll interject a little bit on the end of the month is the scheduled event with Hyundai Corporation, Hyundai America. And there will be a large-scale press event that comes prior to the incident, where we'll discuss what they will be doing for the community, but it's really going to be for all of Southern California. And it's going to be a large-scale event at the AV Fairgrounds. They're going to have multiple setups that'll be there for hours upon hours, and they'll be able to go through and fix and repair that computer program in the vehicle to repair that problem of the vehicles getting stolen. So it's going to be a great event for our community. We're partnering with the City of Lancaster and their Public Safety Office to get this event, in addition to with the fairgrounds. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And I do have a question on the cameras. I know months ago we had talked about getting with the county about the unincorporated areas. Do we have any answers on that yet?
I still, unfortunately, I apologize, Mr. Kraken. Because I've been out for a while, I haven't been able to reach out to Catherine Barger's office yet to find out if we can get them in the unincorporated areas. We're still in the process. Unfortunately, one of my partners had a family event that, you know, that he had to step out for. We were in the process of doing that, but we got sidetracked due to unfortunate circumstances. But I will follow up as soon as I am able to.
If we can make that probably the priority for next month, this has been my fourth request for that, so.
Yes, no, I can.
I think we do need an answer, so.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I can interject on that one too?
Sure.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Lawrence.
No worries.
We're working with the Board of Supervisors in the county and Supervisor Barger's office. Flock Camera System is not an authorized vendor for the County of Los Angeles, so they cannot go into a contract with them. But they are working on that to make them an authorized vendor because they saw the rise of auto thefts in the county areas, unincorporated areas, and they saw the need to get those cameras. So they are working diligently to get an authorized vendor list approved for Flock.
Okay, great, thank you.
I apologize, Commissioner. I didn't know the update.
Thank you.
I know we have several different camera systems, include the flock system, right? How that thing works together? In other words, how you integrate all the camera system working together?
Well, that's going to be up to the technician that's assigned to each program because you have two different companies working together to combine one network. So that couldn't be something I could answer for you. But yeah, the way they say it's doable, but that's going to be up to the technician that's assigned to that task, and it's a large task.
Can I ask Cap, how long does it usually take for the supervisors to respond to a request or get something approved? And I think I know the answer to this, Cap, but it'd be nice for the general public to understand what we all go through and what you go through as law enforcement.
We began this process back in October, and we don't have it done yet. So it has to go through multiple layers of not just the Sheriff's Department, but the County of Los Angeles and the many departments that we have to approve the vendors. So,
Thank you, sir.
I can't give you an exact time.
I know
but it could
that.
take some time.
I know, Cap. Thank you, sir.
Any other additional questions before I continue?
So I'm sorry.
No worries, Commissioner.
If I take a step back from this, other than the homicide numbers, which again, the numbers are so small that very few absolute numbers are going to make a big difference in the percentages. Actually, the only one that seems to me of any significance is Grand Theft Auto, but if we take a step back, it looks like Lancaster is getting safer, not less safe.
Well, here's what you got to take into consideration, Commissioner. Weather, right? Crime is like a wave. It goes up and down, up and down. 1 minute, everything could be completely fine. Winter comes around, homeless find shelter, people find shelter, and they don't want to come out because Mother Nature is the only person that can slow crime but not stop it, right? So it may look like crime has gone down, which it probably has, but you got to understand the community is kind of exhausted. They're to the point where they're not getting the response times that they need, and they're just given up. Does that make sense? Like, we want to be able to get to you, but we can't. But that's not the community's problem. That's our problem. We have to figure out how to increase staffing and get to the community member that needs the help on time. And at a certain point in time, you kind of just give up in your heart, and you're like, what's the point of calling? So that can affect those stats as well. Okay? So take that into consideration as well before you see what you see here. Okay? All right. I'm going to continue. Arson, down 2.78%. A total down of 4% for arson. And your total Part 1 crimes are down by a total of 5.39%. When I say Part 1 crimes, I mean everything from what you see right here, criminal homicide, forcible rape, robbery, aggravated assault, so on and so forth. On the next line, you're going to see a comparison chart from the previous 12 months up to the current 12 months. As you can see, Commissioner Brown, it is a significant difference. Obviously, it is down across the board. But the question is how accurate is that? These are my crime analyst stats based off of actual numbers of people, the community actually creating a report, right? Calling into the station and saying, hey, this is what happened. And the deputy saying, yes, I believe this happened. Here is your report number. Not a tag number, but an actual report number, okay? Your hot spots, you see how they shifted to the right part of the city? Usually when I show up hot spots, they're dead center or more towards the Quartz Hill side. This is a rare change. because it seems like the hot spots are now on the east side of the dead center of the city. I haven't seen this yet. So, like I said, I've been off for about, a while. So seeing this is a little bit of a different shift. Now, everything seems to be right off of Division and then like the east side of Walmart, or east side Walmart, that type of area over there. It's still in the business districts, however, slightly shifted to the east side of the city.
Or the hotspots, Debbie, is that, when you say shift, how many calls would that be in that spot?
That's the thing. So these
Yeah.
hotspots are very generic. They don't tell you an actual number of how many calls for service, why it's so dark. You can check on crimemapper.com,
Right.
and it'll actually give you a number in a specific area of what type of crime it is. So if it's a robbery, if it's a petty theft, I can only give you the generic overall description of what's going on in that area. And I usually base the dark spots and I look for large, dense areas of businesses. That's usually where you're going to get your dark spots.
What's your best guess as to why it shifted that way?
I've been with the department for almost 9 years, and I haven't seen it shift that clearly in since then. It's always been scattered evenly, but I couldn't really tell you. I honestly couldn't. That's rare. I haven't seen that before. So it's usually been scattered, evenly throughout the center of the city. But it just because the community, certain parts of the community, which I've learned, is they've come together. I've done neighborhood watches. I've done things where I taught them how to do proactive community policing. And what happens is the neighborhood itself comes together finally and implements and enforces the law where people are showing signs of about to be breaking them or doing things, and they stop it before it happens. This causes the chaos to relocate somewhere else because they know if they go into that neighborhood, they're going to get problems. And that's what needs to be done. The community needs to come together, the neighborhoods need to come together and conduct proactive community policing. So that way we can see a shift like we see here. They don't want to go there anymore. They know if they step in that area, they're going to have problems. Let's go somewhere else. So that's the only thing I can think of, and that's based off of me doing the neighborhood watches with the city and with the unincorporated areas of the county, just educating them in general.
A couple questions too, with the numbers you said you were reporting. You are reporting the numbers not based on tags, but based on reports that
Actual reports, they're called earn numbers. Yes, absolutely.
Is there a way that you can report to us? It looks like, is this just November's numbers or?
No, this is actually for the whole year. So this is a calendar year.
For the year to-
At the end, yes,
Okay.
the year to date.
But it's through November, not through December, correct?
Exactly, yes, correct,
If
yes.
there's a way that, what I would like to hear is maybe every month to let us know how many tags were created versus how many reports were created. 'Cause that's also going to show, and maybe you can also explain for people to understand what a tag is.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
It's also going to show how busy your station is.
Yes, so what Commissioner McCracken is saying is you have a tag number and then you have an earn number. A tag number is a call for service. However, we don't know specifically if a crime has occurred or not. However, we're going to send a deputy out to investigate. Once the deputy comes out to investigate and determines a crime has occurred, an earn number is generated, which is a long, I want to say 9-digit number versus a 3-digit number, which is a tag number. The problem with reporting stats month to month is the detective determines that this is not a crime based off of the information that you got on the initial report. So now we have to what is called bust that earn. When we bust that earn, it deletes the stat saying that crime ever occurred because it was no longer a crime. So I can give you stats of how many tags came in for that month versus how many reports were generated, but it's going to change dramatically the next month, and then that original number that I gave you is no longer accurate because the investigation was finally completed and we determined that that was no longer a crime.
Is it usually a month-to-month basis before you get the last numbers?
I do 2 months. That's why I go back on this 2 months because crime analyst Pialato has the best accurate permanent stats after about 2 months.
So if you took the tag numbers for 2 months and then the earn number would go 2 months later on how many?
Yes, it would shift over. And like I said, every investigation is different. It's just, some take longer than others. I'm just trying to get you the most accurate part of the stats because it's going to fluctuate so much that you're going to say, hey, Deputy Green, you told me that we had this many on this month, and now we have this many, which is lower than what you said before. So it kind of like, it makes me sound like hypocritical, like of what I'm, when I'm dishing out. It's because the numbers change, and they do have reports that get busted that are no longer crimes.
So the reason I'm asking this is, the Valley Press has, every day they have their crime blotter on there. So they say they get their numbers from you guys. So I'm curious whether that's a tag versus the report, because when you see the numbers in the paper, it's pretty scary. So
Yeah,
I just
it's
wanna
very
make-
scary.
I just want to see the accuracy of anything being reported. Are they just reporting a call coming in, or is that actually?
Yeah, we can have someone call in and say, hey, this suspicious person is walking down the street I've never seen in my neighborhood. Guess what? We have to go out and investigate. Suspicious persons is a stat code. Is he allowed to walk, or she allowed to walk down that street? Absolutely. We get there, find out that it's a friend of a neighbor. That call for service still stays in there.
So they're taking what you're saying is the tag number only.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out is the report
That's
on there?
possible.
Because there's times you look at the report and you're like seeing 9 plus 10 assaults for that day. So, the thing is getting the right numbers to the public out there, and is that,
Yes, and
versus the numbers, they just don't seem to match to.
no, and they
so I'm
don't,
trying to
and
get
that's
that to
where
match.
the confusion is, right? So what happens when it comes to newspapers and media is they're going to take what they need to bring the reader's attention, or if we're giving them feedback, proper feedback of how to read the stats, it goes in one ear out the other, and they post what they want to post. Does that make sense? I can't force them to post the exact things that we post. They're only going to post what's going to make the reader read.
What information are you guys providing them?
We can provide them whatever they want. Tag numbers, earn numbers. They take it and they do what they want, because once it's out of my hands, it's however their manager wants to disseminate it. I can give what I can give. They can give what they can give. I can't make them have the exact same copy as I do.
Is there a reason why you can't just give them earn numbers?
So, in theory, a lot of times when we receive calls for service, what we receive is an assault call, may not be an assault call when the deputies get there and investigate the crime. So I think they're getting a lot of what our calls for service are on a daily basis, and they may not necessarily be a crime at every one. We average almost 400 calls or tag numbers, incident numbers per day, over almost 144,000 per year. A lot of that encompasses, a majority of it encompasses calls for service, but some of them also include what we call observations, where a deputy initiates activity, whether it's a traffic stop or anything like that. So it may not necessarily be a crime necessarily on each one of those tags. So if we have 400 incidents per day, it doesn't mean there's 400 incidents of crime per day.
So basically, at this time, we don't really know if they're reporting 9 car thefts. We don't really know if that's an accurate number that they're getting.
Correct.
Are you able to withhold from them and just give them earn numbers, which are the accurate numbers?
We could, I think what Deputy Green was talking about as a former detective, a lot of times when we get a case to investigate, we look into it, and there may be a time where we not necessarily bust or delete an earn, but we may change the crime, because we may find out something during the investigation that changes it. It could change it from a Part 1 to a Part 2 crime during the investigation. So there may be a time where we'll write a supplemental report to change that crime specifically to something different. It could go up, it could go down.
We, for instance, we can find out like someone was assaulted, and then that's a crime. Find out that they have a mental disability, and they get put on a 5150 hold. That's no longer a crime. So it changes. Do you see what I'm saying? So I could give you one stat, and then the next month that stat no longer exists.
Is the call for, when you generate a tag, is that call generated at times that says car theft?
Yes. So here, that's when it comes to the tag numbers. So you can technically see, Commissioner McCracken, that X amount of car thefts came in based off of a radio code, right? A radio code will have like a confirmed stolen vehicle recovery, which is a 503, right? And then you can look up all of the recovery vehicles versus that for that tag. And we confirm it before we put it in, right, for the tag number. There's times where we won't confirm it, though. But you're getting a rough estimate of how many stolen vehicles were reported or recovered vehicles were reported. But when it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to fighting, burglary, theft, vandalism, those things change within the tag number. We only go off of what we hear the person say over the phone. When the deputy gets there, most of the time it's not what it is. So now, what was originally called in for service was a domestic violence call turned into a brother-sister fight. They never said the relationship between each other, and now I have a battery call for service, not domestic violence. And we don't go back and change it. The deputy just deals with it as it is.
Does the sheriff's department get calls regarding what they read in the paper as far as that Crime Stopper report?
No, I don't.
How about the city?
We don't receive calls from anybody that indicates,
That they've
That they got
read
from
the
there.
paper and they said, okay.
Correct.
I was just curious. All right.
Yeah, usually paper has to cross-reference where they get their information from.
So based on yours, because there is that couple of months gap to get your accurate numbers, pretty much nothing is going to change as far as,
Yeah, if I go 2 months out, the shift and change is very
Is-
minimal,
okay.
super minimal. Yes, absolutely.
okay.
So based on what you said, and this graphic is, this is accurate reports, because based on reports, right?
Yes, absolutely. These are
Well-
earns generated. Yes.
Hotspot is not really based on reports, based on calls.
Yes,
Right.
that is correct. Yes.
So we can really judge that there is a hotspot, a really red dot there. We can call it, that's a really big crime area.
No, but it is a problem area. So you got to understand the small businesses in the area will call for nuisance, call for problems, call for anything that has to do with loitering, trespassing, but we are allowed to give warnings or to remove people from properties without actually charging them with a crime. The-
But, excuse me, I'm sorry, Debbie. That one call can generate a hotspot?
Well, it depends. If the same person's calling over and over again, or that same area in that small business generates problems, calls for service, you're going to have a hotspot there. And we want them to call. I don't want them not to call. But I also want you guys to be aware that there's people in this area causing problems. And we want to be there to fix them. If you don't see any hotspots, people are not calling. So.
We could get our crime analyst to give us both maps.
Yeah,
One
it's
of,
just- yeah.
the hotspots really are to how we're gonna deploy our resources to those areas that are taking up our time based on calls for service. We could have our crime analysts create maps just specific to crime or to calls for service. We could do both.
Well, I think the both would be helpful because that way we can really kind of gauge it. Like you said, okay, something's going on over there because you're getting a lot of calls for something going on
Yes.
versus
Correct.
the reality is, here's where the main problem is. So, yeah, if we can get the both though.
Yeah, I like the tag. I like the difference in comparison, so you can see how busy we are. It's fantastic to see that, let the community see what we respond to and how much time we have to respond between each call. So, absolutely.
Thank you.
Question for you, kind of going back to the homicide rates.
Yes.
With, it's a pretty significant increase year over year, but also the 5-year increase. Do we, in cases where a suspect was apprehended, do you have, are you able to give a percentage on how many were out on release from the courts or the DA policies that previously would have been held?
I think that would probably be a DA question, no, as far as release, yeah.
We don't have those specific numbers. It happens occasionally. But, I can't say that out of our murders so far year to date or last year, almost 95% of them, a person is in custody if not named. And the flock cameras have been instrumental in almost a majority of those arrests.
Right, no, I understand that. What I mean is,
Somebody out.
people who was arrested on
Right.
maybe a lower level crime, and repeat offenders, and again, I'm not making a knock at the deputy DAs. I know they don't agree with these policies, but with Gascon's policies that have led to immediate release, no bail, those kind of things. We hear about it in individual cases, but I'm curious as to how widespread it is, and I guess how we would go about finding that out.
We could look into those details. I know in several of the cases recently, some of the higher priority ones, that the suspects were out on PRCS,
Yeah.
so parole supervision or county supervision. But yeah, we could get those stats for you
Okay.
specifically.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Can you give us an update on what you're finding as far as businesses with smash and grabs?
Well, they're still reporting them. The smash and grabs are still being reported. The issue is we're not getting there until obviously after the crime has occurred, which requires follow-up video, pulling video, finding out if there's any priors to the person on video, and locating them. Smash and grabs take no longer than a few seconds, and by the time our arrival comes, no one's there. So the objective is to make it as difficult as possible, but at the same time, it's kind of, based off of me being in community relations, it's kind of messing with the community as well, because everything's locked up behind glass. And $2 items are locked up behind glass, and you don't want to wait for an employee to come to unlock the thing. But the businesses are doing everything they can to stop theft from occurring. So it's affecting both the community and law enforcement, because we can cite, bring them in, arrest them if we do catch them, and then they're out in 4 hours with a no bail.
Are you seeing an increase in that month to month, or is it kind of steady?
Well,
or
like
do you
that's
have any counts of how many smash and grabs you're getting calls for?
that I can get for you, for the actual smash and grab type thefts. But like I said, the weather is a huge issue. In summertime, it skyrockets. In wintertime, if you do get it, it's like essentials. So from the homeless that need, whatever they need, they're out. Weather plays a big part in stats as far as smash and grab. Right now, as you can see in Christmas time, I had people looking into windows because your tree is in the window. So what are they going to be looking for? Gifts, presents, things of that nature.
Yeah, I think if you can start providing some of that information, especially if we're starting to see more crime in the business industry, it might raise people's eyebrows and say, oh, maybe I need to do something more to prevent this from happening, if we can prevent them.
Absolutely. We'll be having our business watch soon. I will be there. So I will bring stats to that business watch as well, so we can actually get some things accomplished.
Do you have any stats available as to response time? Meaning that I'm listening to what you're saying. I know we're short-staffed as deputies, so it's not complaining on your behalf. But if we knew what those numbers were, in other words, if I make a call after someone has broken my office, is it taking 20 minutes? Is it taking an hour? What it is? Do you guys track that time?
Yes, we do. Cap, do we have our last recorded response time?
Yeah, I will pull them up right now.
Okay. We do document that. We do calculate that. And unfortunately, what usually happens is when response times like that occur, it's when a major event has occurred in the city. A major crime has occurred, and it requires all of the resources to be directed to that event, which makes everybody else's calls for service lag. That's where you get the delayed response times.
And how often does that happen?
It happens very frequently.
That would be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Well, so when it's a high-profile incident, murder, something significant, it does take a lot of the resources, which delays us responding to some of the calls, the routine calls. For the month of November, our response times for the entire station to emergency calls was 6.9 minutes. For priority calls, 38.6 minutes, and for routine calls, which are report calls, traditionally, those that aren't emergency are priority. And just to give a little explanation of it, our dispatch system works on 3 types of calls: emergency, priority, and routine. An emergency call for us is one that requires lights and siren. A priority call is one that you respond there as quick as you can, but not lights and sirens. Those are going to be some of your incidents like domestic violence occurring. If it's a domestic violence occurring now, or a robbery occurring now, or a traffic collision with injuries, those are all emergency calls that we go to, lights and siren. Routine calls are going to be calls that are a call for service regarding a report, Somebody broke into my house yesterday, last night. I was gone over the weekend. I got home and my house was broken into, or, you know, neighbor disturbances that don't meet the criteria of an emergency or priority. For routine calls, our response time was 356 minutes in November.
And how often are these calls misidentified because the caller exaggerates or does not report it properly?
That is not documented. It's more of a, I don't want to put the victim on blast type issue. You know, we want to make sure everybody's respectful, but we deal with it so much that we just correct it when we get there. If it's not the correct call, as far as documented in like digital documentation, there's not a stat code that says this information wasn't the original call for service. There's nothing that goes into the system that says the original call for service is not what it was when we arrived. There's nothing for that, but we as deputies, we get there and we fix the problem as best as we can, and we're not going to put the victim on blast saying that, you know, they messed up on the original call for service.
And it may not be that they messed up. It's during an emotional incident.
Yeah.
Information comes out, and our dispatchers do their best to mitigate that and get the right information to the deputies in the field. But they also have to take it on face value of what they're listening to on the phone, the maybe inflections in voice, all that stuff. They're taking all that into consideration on how they prioritize calls. And do we get calls where somebody says there's a gun? Yes, and there's not one. It happens quite often. And sometimes they may say, we think he has a gun, or we think they have a gun. And we do have to prioritize those accordingly. And then when deputies get there, they determine the facts at the scene.
So we think he has a gun, we're going immediately to emergency.
Yeah, if there's any thought of someone having a firearm,
Yes.
it will be a priority at minimum. Any additional questions? All right, that'll be the end of my presentation. If you guys need any definitions as far as the crimes are concerned, they're going to be on the last slide right here. And if you have any further questions for me, I will be available until this is over, okay?
Deputy Green, I just want to say thank you very much. Over the last couple of years, your presentation, you've given us everything we requested, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, LA County Probation Department.
Good morning and Happy New Year. We have a couple of months of statistics and things to share with you since I was last here. We're still dealing quite a bit with our homelessness and transient situation. Unfortunately, our policies allow, the decision makers allow them to be released from state prison and claim to be transient or homelessness, and sometimes, and often more than not, that they're not actually. They're sleeping somewhere. They don't want to be interrupted or interrupting the family they're staying with or their friends are happening. So it's kind of a cat and mouse chase thing. So we're doing our best in the field to try to curtail that. We did that with the mobile unit going out to different areas. Unfortunately, with the deployment of our POs being placed in juvenile halls to assist with that crisis, we're still short a couple of days a week per deputy who are being mandated to go there by our chief. During the holiday season, we saw an increase in violations and arrest. Normally, that's kind of a norm. The violations are norm. Some of our serious offenses, we did have, unfortunately, the gentleman that was responsible, allegedly responsible for the child that got shot on Sierra Highway was our high-profile case. He had only been released 4 weeks prior. He had been to our office 4 times. He was being allowed to live, to claim homelessness, and he was staying in a hotel. Sometimes they don't give vouchers. We don't give vouchers from probation, but they'll get them from other agencies or other assistants throughout the communities, and they'll be able to get that, or they have someone that's taking care of that. He did report as scheduled. He did come in, and unfortunately, this happened. And, You know, our biggest concern at the deputy level and the supervisor level, at my level, is that they've been offered many opportunities to be released on an early release program through the state program, which obviously we don't always agree with. But we're not engaged in that decision. And this person, I believe, was one of them that had an opportunity to get out on earlier release. So some of those things are being looked upon, but they're not being looked upon at this level in the community. On a more positive note, we're beginning to collect data on those that we supervise on probation that are employed and continue to be employed either through programs or through self-employment of other types or jobs they found on their own. We're trying to see if we can increase that by adding more programs. The issue we have at this area, being in the northern region of LA, is that we don't always get all the resources that the metropolitan areas do get. They have an influx of much more agencies that can help, and we're a little limited, but we do our best to get going. We had 3 people graduate from our Carpenters Union program, which we assist them, and we also include assisting with their initiation of union dues and stuff if they prove to be a worthy candidate, and most of the time they are if they complete the program. They're usually helping and assisted with that. Our mobile resource unit is down to 1 day per month based on the deployment. We were down 75% of our norm out here in this area. So we're hoping to get that back up and running in the near future, as the department is still seeking to employ more deputies in the custodial part of it. We did receive the few that got reassigned early in the year of 23. We have received them back. We have one here back already in our office. Excuse me, one of the POs has been returned just this week, and another one's pending. He was injured in the line of duty, so we're just waiting for his medical clearance. We do have our special enforcement officers making more residential and compliance checks. They're doing those on special. Those are our armed deputies. They're doing that for the ones that are considered higher risk, or the ones that the probation officer of record has declared them as higher risk based on their poor performance of not reporting, and we can't find them. So we're going to other houses and stuff that they may have older addresses, present addresses, to knock on doors to make sure we can find them, locate them. Many may be on warrant and they'll be taken into custody on that aspect. And that's pretty much what I have for you now. Other than in a couple of months, I plan on retiring. So it's been a pleasure to be a part of this. So hopefully we'll find someone to continue this on. So
Congratulations.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And
Yeah.
thank you for an
36
incredible
years,
career.
I think it's time for me to go fishing and go.
So we have you for 2 more appearances?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
At least no more.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have the California Highway Patrol.
Good morning, everyone. Captain Zagorski here. I do apologize for not making the last meeting, but as far as the numbers I have, the statistics are for our 4th quarter of last year. Even though my challenge still is staffing, I'm only at 73% of my officer staffing, which is only 36 officers right now for over 1,300 square miles of patrol. We're supposed to be at 49. I do have 3 new officers arriving next week. They still have to do some more training, but that's going to be a nice added bonus. We've restructured to 12-hour shifts, which now I'm only staffing 2 shifts instead of 3. So it does help increase my numbers that I have out on proactive patrol. The numbers are not immense. I only have 5 this morning, and I'll have 3 tonight. But as far as it's something that we're continuing to work on. Nonetheless, even with that staffing challenge, my personnel are still going forward, taking care of ensuring protection in the unincorporated areas, but also all areas we can. Overall, just last quarter, we had 4,494 enforcement contacts, 693 motorist services, and 464 crashes that we documented, responded to, and handled. Out of that, we had 214 arrests, 166 of which were for DWI. And then we had 2,753 citations issued for various types of violations to try and help curb criminal behavior and dangerous driving that we're seeing. Unfortunately, our fatal crashes are still running high in the unincorporated areas. We had 12 fatal crashes That is not the number of dead, which unfortunately is greater than that. Each tragic crash it doesn't have a pattern or rhyme. We're seeing that they're happening anywhere two roads intersect, unfortunately, is where our fatalities are occurring. And I'm continuing to look at ways in which we can address that. We're still finding that 60% of our fatalities are not wearing their seatbelts. And so I hate to say that 60% of those individuals probably would be here today if they had simply worn the seatbelts that are in the vehicles. Amongst that, we do have some other successes. Last quarter was our Chips for Kids program. I'm very grateful for all the business owners and partners that we have throughout the Antelope Valley. We were able to gather more than 8,000 toys, which were donated to organizations and individuals here in Antelope Valley only. None of our toys leave the area. So it's a program that we've been doing for over 30 years as a department, and I know we'll continue doing it, but I'm grateful for all the support we got from the public, because that's who makes that happen. And that's pretty much all that I have for y'all today.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I do. How are things looking on our freeways these days?
If in regards to the construction, it will be
Yes.
going for 3 more years at a minimum. Its target date is 3 years from now, but I've been on the department long enough to know that I've never seen Caltrans hit that date. But I know that what the construction company is really trying to ensure the maximum flow of traffic, but I'm also trying to make sure that we minimize the dangers. Right now, they've actually opened the northbound lanes from I to A to 2 lanes now, where it was only a single lane previously, but now there's also no shoulder. So the challenge there is people need to be mindful of a stalled or a broken down vehicle in the right lane and hopefully not on their phone. We do have signage posted at 55 miles an hour. My officers are going to begin a very aggressive enforcement campaign. We did an education campaign last month, and so now we're on to the enforcement campaign of enforcing the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit that exists from Palmdale to Avenue A. If there is no construction present, it's a $400 fine if you're doing 70 miles an hour in that zone.
And that started as of the 1st, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How's it going so far?
Statistically, I don't bring the numbers in today. I won't have those numbers probably end of the month. But as far as I have just my own personal observation, I have seen traffic slow significantly on the 14 on the north side of the construction from A to I, just in my own personal observations. So I do believe traffic is slowing, and this is during the non-peak times. When it loads up, that forces everyone to drive slower. But when the times when we don't have our commute times going, we were seeing traffic in excess of 90 miles an hour on a regular basis. Optimistically, it is down in the 70s finally, but we're going to continue working to change those behaviors and get them down into the 50s and 60s, because the slower you go, the more time you have to stop and avoid issues that are ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
Quick question, what percentage of fatalities with not wearing a seatbelt, you said it was about 60%, what percent of the people with fatalities have strokes now?
Unfortunately, sir, a lot of the coroner is a 1-year backlog for getting toxicology. So I could probably give you those for 2022, but 2023, I do not have those, unfortunately. I can say that as far as individuals who cause those collisions and are under the influence, we are being very successful in our prosecution. We just apprehended a suspect today who had caused a double fatality almost a year ago. We were successful in obtaining a $4 million warrant for his arrest, and we apprehended him this morning because he's being charged with 2 counts of murder. Because no one can claim ignorance as to driving under the influence is dangerous, so that's a malicious act in almost every regard. And we are seeing successful prosecution for murder when someone kills someone while under the influence.
Any further questions?
I have one question. What about the testing of people under the influence of marijuana? Do you guys have a separate report for that, or that just falls under DUI?
So that would still fall under DUI. The testing is blood test only, and right now I believe that's a 6-month wait for those confirmations. But they're testing right now a different test for drugs, a actual saliva test. I believe the University of California, San Diego has been testing that device. So far, what I hear is good news to be able to have a roadside test for marijuana and other drugs. But as far as presently, we only have the blood test, and we don't separate. I can actually probably pull statistics for drug impairment only, but the combination ones will get convoluted because of if it's more alcohol or more drugs.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Next, unfortunately, the district attorney's office is not here today, so we'll go to our city public safety department.
I do not know how this got so low, but it wasn't me.
There is a little button if you want. I think it's on the side or underneath.
You gotta go lower to get it.
It's
though.
okay.
Yeah.
Stoop. I'll stoop. Good morning, commissioners. Let's go ahead with the first slide. Oh, got the clicker, my bad. Happy to report a 6.1% drop in violent crime in the city of Lancaster over the last year. We attribute this to our strong relationship with the Sheriff's Department and Public Safety Department within the city and working in conjunction with each other. And we have a very good working relationship. It's going very well. But this is even more significant when we compare this to our neighbors. We have Palmdale, which is up in these crimes 1.6%, and Santa Clarita, which saw a rise 6.7%. Actually, this number is 10.2%. It's been corrected. So when we look at where we may expect to be by comparison, we're significantly lower, and it's proving that our strategies are working. The mayor's Digital Shield initiative, as was announced, consistent with this, the technologies that public safety has been bringing to the city and is currently bringing to the city. As you know, the flock camera system, we've heard even Success mentioned about that today. We continue to grow that program. Our UAS program is also a success. We do numerous flight missions weekly, and it's not just in public safety, it's used for events, parks, for public works projects, so it's being well utilized. But it is also used for public safety, and yesterday, in fact, was used for a joint LAPD-FBI apprehension of a murder suspect in the area. Our intersection cameras, as we know, we have our intersection cameras. They've been up for a long time. We are about to incorporate all of those into a common system with our flock system, with our drones, with our body cams, and then, Vice Chair Little, to your point last time, our business partners will be able to join that system and be able to provide evidence and investigative resources to both us and the Sheriff's Department upon request. The connected cameras, the systems we're looking at right now, we are about halfway through our assessment of multiple systems. We'll be making our determination at the end of this month and then having those onboarded in February. Our AI crime analysis, as you know, we have an Intel and Crime Analysis Center. We're now implementing predictive analytics into that, which allows us to adjust resources where we believe problems are starting to rise up more in order to make sure that those problems don't get out of control or out of hand. And then finally, gunshot detection. Last night we presented a proposal to bring enter a three-year agreement with SoundThinking's Shot Spotter product, and it was approved last night at council. So we'll be bringing them on over the next month and a half as they get installed throughout the city in certain areas to specifically target a reduction in gun violence. And that will also integrate with our connected systems that we're talking about. So when we do get those Shot Spotter alerts, not only will the alerts be within seconds, be delivered to the Sheriff's Department within seconds so they know where to go so they can, number one, perhaps save lives. Number two, direct to the location where the shot came from instead of just the general area of where people heard shots. But also be connected to our camera systems. So we'll be able to pull up cameras as well for that area to find out maybe a car that was coming from, that type of thing, and be able to provide that intel as well. So these are just some examples of what we're doing with public safety and our relationship with the Sheriff's Department and those successes. Some announcements. Our cannabis program continues to work, and I know a lot of people, I'm kind of saying this for the benefit of the public, a lot of people think cannabis, that's just not a big deal. But as we've shared in these meetings and in city council meetings, the illicit cannabis industry is extremely dangerous. It's hazardous to people's health, and it's not just because, smoking, is bad for your lungs. Literally, the illicit grows use thousands of gallons of toxic chemicals because they're not regulated by the state. They're not licensed, and so they cheat in their grow product. And so you're smoking and ingesting toxic chemicals that cause cancer, that cause, disease rapidly. But even worse, they're being done in houses where they'll just take over a house or buy a house or whatever, and then do all this inside the house. And then when they leave all that toxicity in the walls. The mold is throughout the inside of the walls, in the floors, in the ceilings, and they just paint over everything and leave. And then an unsuspecting family buys this house, moves in, and then the kids get sick. Kids get cancer. It's in the ground and the outside. So it becomes a hazardous materials matter. So we're very aggressive in enforcing illicit cannabis. And so yesterday we had a joint operation with the state cannabis department and successfully removed a very large grow out of a house, which was great. And I think the state took some people to jail behind that one too. We're happy to say that our officer interviews will be starting in February for our new police officers. We have had a very high number of applicants, so very encouraged and very positive in the response that we received in a very short amount of time of putting that listing out. You had asked previously about the bags from the health department that get distributed in our homeless encampments, which basically amount to drug paraphernalia that they're handing out. We have made numerous attempts to contact the health department at the county level. We have not had contact back from anybody, but we've used multiple resources and points to get there. And since we started doing that, it appears that those deliveries have stopped completely. Our teams are reporting they're not seeing any and haven't seen any for over a month now in our homeless encampments. So I think we had the intended effect. On the Hyundai.
Real quick, I apologize. Can you tell us more about that, please?
Sure.
Just go into a little more detail about what was in the bags and what our issue was.
No
with
problem. So we were noticing when our homeless teams would go out and engage that they were coming across needles in inordinate numbers. And there would be even sometimes fully intact bags that hadn't even been opened or used. And these were basically drug kits. They have clean needles in them. They have bands in them. They have gauze in them. And so we were wondering where these had come from. We found out through the homeless groups that the county health department was arriving in vans and distributing these to the homeless groups. And in fact, it wasn't an exchange program. They weren't collecting dirty needles. They would just dump a box of these off of these bags, and they would get distributed throughout the homeless community. But there were so many that they weren't even being used in some cases. And so that's, if you could picture how many would be used and then how many there has to be extra to just be new sitting in bags, laying around on the grounds, that's what our people were encountering, which obviously creates a very dangerous situation. It's also expensive to clean up. We're having to contract for that to have all that debris cleaned up and collected as well. It's dangerous for their deputies when they're making these contacts. So we wanted to get to the source, identify where that was coming from, talk to them and find out about the program, find out if maybe they weren't doing the program correctly or the people that they had dispatched out weren't doing the program correctly. Again, we never got a contact from anyone. However, that has stopped. So, or appears to have stopped. So.
A lot of those bags too, Commissioner, was
The Narcan.
yeah, the Narcan, and then there was food, water. A lot of that stuff would be dropping off, and a lot of these homeless people wouldn't leave the facility at times that we were cleaning up. I went to a couple of these cleanups, and you couldn't even walk on a piece of property without stepping on needles, clean ones, dirty ones. I mean, it was pretty bad. They were just all over the place. And then a lot of them wouldn't leave, stating that, no, we got to wait for our package to arrive, at times, so.
It's good to hear that kind of stops. So whatever you guys are doing, keep it up. It's working.
So to be clear, it stopped. There was no communication. It just stopped.
There was communication out, no communication back, but we just stopped seeing it.
I think people can draw their conclusions when there's no response but the behavior stops.
Correct.
I mean, it's still unclear where that thing came from, but the good thing is he stopped.
Yeah.
So we can just leave it to that. Yeah.
One thing I'd add, you know, and you mentioned the problems with the illegal cannabis grows. Those chemicals are also seeping down into our water table,
That's
which,
correct.
you know, our local water providers are doing as much as they can to protect that water table. And many of those chemicals are forever chemicals. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So we just want the public to be aware of that situation, be supportive of the illicit enforcement that we're doing on those. On the Hyundai topic, we talked about a little bit earlier. That is a joint project with the LA County Sheriff's Department, with the city, and with Hyundai. That is at the fairgrounds. The 25th is a media day, and then the 26th, 27th, and 28th, Hyundai will have technicians out there to be able to do software updates on their vehicles. If the vehicle is older and does not qualify for the software update, or not able to get a software update, they have mechanical devices they'll be placing over the ignition switches, which will block the ability to be able to override and engage those. So it's
Sorry, so what was the date?
Sorry, sir?
Date?
The date 25th is the media day, so we're putting a big info blast out so as many people can know about it as possible, which is also the purpose of today. And then the 26th, 27th, and 28th, all 3 days they'll be out there, the fairgrounds.
Is there a fee for this?
It's free.
Real quick, you mentioned the grow house,
Yes, sir.
and then you mentioned the toxics and everything. What happens to that piece of property at that point in time, that once that is cleared out? Who takes care of cleaning up the facility?
If we know about it?
Yes.
So our code inspectors go in, they're qualified to make those assessments. We have a building inspector for the structure of the property. What's also common is they drill through the back of the electrical panel. They hook up illegal electrical connections, which make, you know, now it's a fire danger, and then they just patch over that. So all of those things are inspected. What we do is get an inspection warrant, and we can pull walls, and we do that, pull walls down, we inspect inside, and if we see evidence of this, then we can place that house into a receivership with the court, and then the court takes over that property through a contractor. They order it to be repaired and abated. That contractor, whatever costs they incur, they go through that process, restore that property fully, report back to the court. The court then sells that house, or orders the sale of that house. The proceeds from that sale then reimburse the contractors that came in to repair, reimburses the city for the investigative costs, and then whatever's left goes to the owner.
And there's a procedure that tests, like you said, dangerous chemicals within the, that particular piece of property.
There's machinery, yes, sir, and equipment that we use.
And are these owners, most of them owner-operators, or are these leased properties?
It's a shell game. They'll claim to be leases, but you'll hear the same people on the phone when they call you. Their same people who claim to be their attorneys will call and harass and berate our personnel. We recognize the voices. There are a lot of the same people that are in these groups. I think they all own them. There have been 2 that I know of in the last year that the landlord had no idea. So, but that was only 2. Transparency model. So the public safety is developing its transparency model right now. We would like input from the community and from this commission on what type of data they're interested in. What would you like to know? What would you like to see? There's too much information to just say, here it all is. So we want to be able to put up something, you know, on a web form or something like that, a dashboard. So we're interested in hearing from the community on what interests they have to see, because we want to meet that, and we do want to partner with our community on public safety. So it's one way we can do that. And then also, don't forget, Justice Sunday is this Sunday. So we put that event out last month. I believe it's 12 to 3, and then they have the event at the LPAC afterwards for that.
And if anyone has any suggestions for you as what they want to hear, how should they get a hold of you?
If you go to the city website, you'll see a public safety link, and there's multiple ways to contact us, through email, through phone. We have Connect City of Lancaster. That's an app you can get. Multiple ways to get hold of us. It's pretty easy.
And I know for what I would probably like to hear is everything that you kind of just showed up there. You have the traffic cameras, the flock systems.
Yes.
How that's working for you guys. How many incidents are you having with each one? The success rate. I know if those can be brought to the meeting would probably be good, so we can hear what's going on.
Yeah, we can do that. The flock is highly successful. The sheriff's department can attest to that. A lot of cases have been solved. A lot of people have been apprehended behind those. Most recently, there's a case, and this is just, I'm not going to give a lot of details. I don't want to step on an investigator's toes, but a recent homicide here where the teacher was in the trunk and that person left the area. Our technology connects to other technologies in other cities, and that person was located. So it does help in the greater good for other investigative areas too, who are participating in the same types of technologies.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I think one of the things that helps not just the public but policymakers is seeing, you know, what the effects different policies are having on public safety. And you know, I think we've heard anecdotally, you know, that horrible crime, murder, as well as others, as Mr. Sepulveda mentioned, from the state soft on crime policies and early release, and the DA's, you know, revolving door policies. You know, how many of these crimes are being perpetrated by people that even just a few years ago would not have been free on the street because of other crimes they've committed? I think that'd be helpful to know. And
Yeah, there'll be certainly some statistics from the district attorney's office.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, congressional and legislative updates. Jack, we have Jack Danielson from Senator Wilk's office.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So I wanted to introduce Angelica. She will be taking over for me as I leave Senator Wilk's office onto my next venture. So I just wanted to introduce you to Angelica, as she and Thomas from our office will be the new point of contact. Outside of that, so on January 3rd, the legislature reconvened. Today is a very special day because today is the day that the governor submits his budget to the legislature. We were seeing estimates of $68 billion deficit late last year. Our ledge team is standing by to receive that and deconstruct it and see where cuts are going to have to be made. As well, our legislative team is putting together the senator's bill package for this upcoming his final term. And they will have until February 16th to do so. I don't have any bills to present to you today because they're still submitting everything to get numbered and to get introduced. And that is my update. If you guys have any questions, thank you.
Any questions? Well, thank you very much. Best wishes, and Angelica, look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, I see Pam Balch from Assemblymember Lackey's office.
Thank you so much. We also are waiting on our ledge package for February, but the Assemblyman has agreed to partner with San Bernardino County on improving the Amber Alert system, which is going to benefit everyone in the state. So that is one bill that he will be carrying and looks forward to fleshing out so that we can present that properly. Proposition 47 will again be a big topic of discussion. As you may or may not know, Proposition 47 decriminalized all drug-related crimes and then lowered many offenses from felonies to misdemeanors. So that, again, will be an area of discussion for the Lackey team. The Assembly member is a member of the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is a bipartisan group that works toward legislative fixes for the situations that we see that are an issue, especially the uptick in crime. And so they are also working on some measures to bring forth for that. We know that this will be an uphill battle, and as Deputy Green mentioned, we need the community's help. So I will be letting you know what things that we would appreciate you weighing in on. As we saw last year with the human trafficking bill, the public was what made the difference in that bill getting passed. So we're very grateful for everyone that weighs in on those things. We are, as Jack mentioned, anticipating a budget deficit year, and we will know better about that next month so we can talk to you about that. The state does have reserves. I know this is not a surprise, but that can be tapped into, but we will find out what the extent of that will be done. We do not know yet. Look forward to working with you for another year, and wanted to let you know about two things that might be of interest to you. The Assemblyman will be presenting a virtual grant writing seminar, and that's important for so many different areas, for public safety, for nonprofits. So if anyone's interested in that, January the 19th, coming right up, and it will be on Facebook Live. So you don't need to register ahead of time. You can just pop on and take a look. And then our favorite event of the year, the Student Art Show, is happening on the 27th at the Moa Cedar. And if you'd like to come by and see what the students are up to in a very positive way, please do. It's from 2 to 3:30. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other offices here today? I don't think so. Okay, we will move on to public business from the floor.
This is a time to address the Lancaster Criminal Justice Commission on non-agendized matters. Speaker cards can be found on the back table of the council chambers. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each unless a different time limit is announced. State law prohibits the commission from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, so if there's anyone else, I've got a few cards up here, but if anyone else does want to address the commission, go ahead and just fill one of these out and turn them in up here. First up, we have David Paul.
Okay, I had to figure out what green and red meant. Chair Mercy and Commissioners, good morning. You know, I love to come here, and I wanted to be here at our first meeting of the year. There's so much information, and I appreciate you trying to shuffle it down and make it be something that makes sense. I was disappointed last night. I saw a report on a network news program that talked about this new phenomenon called swatting, where people will call in and say horrible things are happening and get a SWAT team to come to somebody's house that's a political rival or an enemy of some sort. And but then they had some other information. There's this national journalist talking about this story, and he's saying that one person was swatted 40 times. And I thought to myself, by the second time the SWAT team gets there on a false call, I don't think they'd come 38 more times. Now, I have had it happen to me 15 years ago with a neighbor dispute. The guy was burning stuff in his fireplace, wood and scraps of lumber with veneer on them and stuff. And I objected to that, so they called whoever they called and told them that I was starving my children and chained them in the yard in cages. So I had to have a bunch of people come out and ask my children, who were 6 and 8 years old at the time, a bunch of questions. And, you know, I learned that there's no recourse for that. There's no way to go and sue them because it's protected information on the report. So there are challenges, but I'm very interested in what the group of people here today will talk about. And, you know, I just want everybody to know that law enforcement does its best to shift through this information and come up with strategies that'll help and work. And I like that. That's what I like to see, and I'm always amazed at the dedication in this room to overcome all the frustration that comes from the flaws in the system. So thank you all. I really appreciate it, and the future is coming, and we'll meet it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Catherine Salas.
I'm speaking on behalf of Caitlin Census and myself, Catherine Salas, in a combined message. Veronica Aguilar was a second grade teacher, protector, sister, daughter, teammate, and best friend to many teachers here and at her school. She always ensured her family was cared for. She loved sharing her little sister's projects, artwork, and always shared stories about her little sister. She went above and beyond for her students and their families by frequently using her own money, her own valuable time to volunteer herself to provide food, water, and school supplies and gifts for families in need. Veronica was our girl, and she was the teacher with the sweetest smile and sweetest attitude. My condolences to everyone here today who are heartbroken by her murder. I'm going to honor Veronica each day and carry her with me for the rest of my life. She was taken too soon, and her work sisters and friends at Ana Verde will be devastated each time we pass her classroom door when there's someone else greeting her students. Each time she's not there on our lunch break to laugh at our jokes. It's not ever going to be the same again. I implore each of you who have a hand in Matthew Swolotsky's murder trial to reflect on something. Imagine if Veronica was your child's teacher. Imagine if she was your best friend, your sister, or your young, beautiful daughter. You would want justice brought for your loved ones, so please bring justice to Miss Veronica Aguilar's name and ensure the court case is conveniently located in Lancaster. I know you will all make the right choices to honor our friend's name. Thank you.
Thank you. Berena Diaz. I apologize if I mispronounce any names.
Hello, everyone. I'm here for the same reason. I'm here to advocate for justice for our precious teacher, Veronica Aguilar. As Ms. Salas mentioned, she was a wonderful human being that made a difference in our community, and she deserves justice. And as you mentioned, she should have never been out on bail. And these new policies failed her, and we need to have a voice so that this changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Brittany Tolosi.
Hi, good morning. I'm a teacher at Ana Verde Hill School where Veronica Aguilar worked. After tragically losing another teacher 6 years ago, we became an incredibly close school. While Veronica became a teacher after this, she was immediately folded into our little family. During lunch, we make it a point to spend it together. We call ourselves the brunch crew. We see each other as work sisters. We share our lives, our work, our hardships, and our goals, and we make a point of getting together outside of school to further bond us. And Veronica was no exception. She was like our little sister, and losing her has broken us. Veronica was a dedicated teacher. She had a sweet voice and a sweet smile that her students soaked up. We would call her students her little ducklings as they quietly followed her every word. Veronica was also a good friend. She was great at listening. She adored our personal kids, and she was always laughing and having fun. And to know Veronica meant knowing how much she loved her family. She was a devoted sister and a devoted daughter. Veronica also had a heart of service. Whenever she was called to help, she was there. She volunteered her time on several committees, and she helped spearhead a program involving giving back to our most needy students. Through this program, you could see Veronica's passion for life. It was contagious, bringing many teachers and staff together for the cause. our Ana Verde family, our brunch crew, our students, her students, we're all so devastated. While we will carry her love inside of us, it will not be the same. We won't get to hear her sweet laugh at lunchtime. Her students will not be greeted by her sweet smile, and there will always be someone missing when we are together. Veronica was taken from us, and while nothing will bring her back, we beg that you do whatever it is in your power to please help us make sure Veronica is honored and justice is served. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kim Regal?
Good morning. I'm here as well for Veronica Aguilar. I stand in front of you today on behalf of my friend Veronica Aguilar, who was brutally murdered by her boyfriend Matthew Swatolski on December 2nd or 20th, 2023. Sorry, it's so emotional. I had met Veronica in 2018 when I'd first started working for the district at Cottonwood Elementary School. We had grown to be friends in a short period of time. Veronica was one of the sweetest souls that I've ever met. She loved working with children and had an undeniable love for her family. She didn't deserve what had happened to her. It was tragic, and she was taken way too soon from us. I, myself, am a domestic violence or victim of domestic violence. My horrific day had happened on October 25th, 2022. The guy I was dating for about 7 months had entrapped me, beat me, and almost killed me. Both Veronica's and my abuser had many prior domestic violence convictions, each new victim experiencing worse than the one before them. These animals need to be punished with more than just a slap on the hand, but due to the injustice in our state, their release was simply just serving time in state prison for a few years with a possible early release. That is not okay. I not only had lost my life, but I had lost a good-hearted friend because our judicial system is a complete joke, in my opinion. How many people do we have to lose before we say enough is enough and these people are done and put away for good? How many women have to be brutally murdered daily? So, I stand in front of you today to be the voice, not just for myself, not just for my friend Veronica, but for all the women that are victims of domestic violence that do not have a voice. And I demand that something be done. Matthew Swatolski murdered my friend, and justice needs to be served. So I'm going to leave this with you guys. How many of you have a daughter, a niece, a granddaughter, a sister, or even just a young lady who looks up to you and admires you as a father figure or as a mother figure? If they were brutally murdered or beaten by their boyfriend or husband, how would you feel? Wouldn't you want justice served? Wouldn't you want something to be done so it doesn't happen again? So with that, I'm going to say, break the silence and end the violence. And I know I stand against domestic violence. Will you? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the commission? Thank you. Okay. Okay. Iman Samargandhi?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. You pronounced it right.
Oh.
Honorable council members, thank you for granting me this platform today to speak. My name is Iman Samargandhi. I'm a substitute teacher for the Palmdale School District. I work part-time at Palmdale Aerospace Academy. I'm also a law school student nearing graduation and a board member of a nonprofit by the name of Street Company, aiding those affected by homelessness in this community. Since July of 2021, I've been entangled in a divorce and domestic violence case marked by prolonged suffering and delayed justice. Despite enduring and documenting various forms of abuse, a restraining order was only recently issued in my favor. Complicating my case is its intersection with another high-profile case in the Antelope Valley, which was just recently mentioned. to the tragic murder of Miss Aguilar. First off, my condolences go out to her family and friends. I did not know the lady. I just heard a lot of good things about her. My case shares the same judge and opposing counsel as this case. I extend, I'm sorry, getting a little nervous. I extend my heartfelt condolences and believe that with more vigilant legal processes, such strategies could potentially be deterred. This overlap raises serious questions about the integrity and fairness of the legal proceedings I and others are involved in. There has been a significant oversight in my case regarding Family Code Section 3044, with subsection H, which mandates informing parties in custody disputes involving domestic violence about this legal provision. This lapse has not only affected the legal process, but has also had a profound impact on my daughter, who has been diagnosed with an emotional disturbance disorder as a result of these circumstances. I firmly believe that with more prompt and effective legal intervention, people like the sweet teacher that passed away and others like my daughter's mental health could have been addressed more adequately. The discrepancies in how restraining orders are processed and apparent ethical concerns in legal representation have led to unnecessary financial and emotional burdens. Matthew Selinsky, I'm not too familiar with his last name. I met him a couple years ago. My ex-wife rented a house from him. He referred her to her current attorney. I'm just here to urge the council to address these systemic issues urgently. We must ensure that domestic violence cases are handled with the necessary seriousness and fairness to prevent further harm. Our community must stand firmly against the ease with which abusers can manipulate the system and potentially cause irreparable damage. Thank you for your attention to this critical matter.
Thank you. Andres Medina?
Was it? Good morning, everyone. I'm a little nervous, but I'm speaking on behalf of the Ana Verde Hills family. First and foremost, I would like to give my condolences to the teachers, the family, the friends of Veronica Aguilar. But today, I hope all of you guys will have some form of decision in seeking justice of Matthew Slovinsky. So I've been a part-time teacher for Westside Union for over 2 years, and I've gotten to know the Ana Verde Hills community very well. And I can tell you they've shown nothing but graceful and positive impact amongst the school, the children, and just among everyone in general. Another thing that comes to my judgment is how's a man with a record with domestic violence or, like very heinous crimes is out on bail, and let alone nothing is being done. And the concern and safety for any woman out in the Antelope Valley is pretty alarming. So I only ask of you guys to just think of doing the right thing and seeking justice. Veronica was more than just a teacher. She was a family member, a friend. She would have given anything for those kids. And, I hope you guys consider that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there are no other public comments, we'll move into commissioner comments. I'd like to start just on a couple of things. I want to thank everybody. Oh, we have one more. Okay, we'll remain in public comment. Lindsay Taylor Johnson.
Yes. Hello, good morning. Sorry I didn't have anything planned. I just wanted to hear everyone speak before I spoke. I'm here on behalf of Veronica Aguilar. We started off as aides, working together at Conwood. She became a dear friend of mine. And I see, the statistics of crime dropping and this, but people aren't calling. This public isn't calling. People heard screams and didn't call or do anything. What can we as a community, as the public, be able to ensure that people are calling and making these phone calls and are not afraid to call for public help, to not call for the police, because this shouldn't have happened. this should not have happened to her. So, sorry, that's all I just wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so Commissioner comments, I just want to thank everybody who came out to speak today. I can't imagine the heartbreak you're going through, and you're absolutely right. I mean, shouldn't have happened under any circumstances, but these and other tragedies our communities faced, where people should have still been in custody if not for state or county policies. You know, we have some advantages locally when it comes to law enforcement. First and foremost, our local sheriffs, CHP, and our new police department that are attempting innovative new strategies on these matters, as you saw with the digital shield. But we have some pretty big threats out here. Speaking for myself, the state policies on early release, the county over the last several years not funding sheriff's academies and properly funding law enforcement, and the biggest threat of all, the policies that our district attorney, the one who is charged with prosecuting crimes, has put into place the last 3 years. My family is personally touched by them in a horrible way as well. And those are things as a community I hope we can work on. With us as an advisory board, those are things that we advocate for. I do want to note that yesterday was Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and so for all of our law enforcement personnel, our CHP, sheriffs, local police department, our local deputy DAs, everyone involved in law enforcement, with the exception of George Gascon, I wish a happy Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. With that, other commissioner comments?
Yeah, I'd like to mirror exactly what you said, Commissioner Mercy. My prayers and friends to the family of Veronica. It's tragic. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe there's anyone on this commission that doesn't feel the same way you feel. It puts a lump in your throat to hear stories like this, and it's a proven fact that the city and this commission is strong and with you. And is there anything that we can do, we're behind you all the way. And yet we're going to be voices out there to make sure whatever we can do, whatever we can suggest to implement, we're there. So tragic. It's just absolutely tragic. And my prayers to you, the family, and everything else, and thank you for being here. Thank you.
May we, I know our local head deputy DA wasn't able to be here today. Can we send a link to these public comments to her so she can see them? Thank you. Any other commissioner comments?
Yeah, I would just like to kind of go along with what you guys are saying. And first of all, thank you guys for attending today and letting us hear your stories. This is very important for, not only for us to hear, but for the many people who are viewing this at home or are here. We need to hear stories like this. And like we said, our thoughts and prayers are with you, and can't imagine what you guys are going through. And we have a lot of work to do. There are a lot of broken processes out there that need to be fixed, and we can do that with voices. So thank you for coming over here and using this platform, which is open for the public and anyone else to continue to do for us as well. And also to, kind of urge the departments out here, we're also here to help you guys. So one of the things that we'd like to hear, maybe at each meeting is what you need from us. What can we do for you? What kind of things do we need to make a recommendation for the city to implement? We got a lot of crime out there. We got a lot of problems out there, and we need to fix it. And I think if we all stick together and work together as a team, along with this commission, the city, hearing people's voices out there, victims, it's very important to hear our victims speak. And they need to have a voice. And this is a platform for you guys to use those voices as well. So thank you so much for coming, and God bless.
I also would like to reiterate, I really appreciate you guys being here and sharing your thoughts and your feelings. We share the same feelings for you. It was a senseless act, and more importantly, it could have been prevented. And I do hear and understand what you're saying, and this commission is constantly looking for ways, innovative and otherwise, to make our community a better place. It's important that we all understand we only have so much capability of doing that. This is the state of California, this is Los Angeles County, and we have Gascon. So all we can do is continue to fight together as a team, but I do want you to know we appreciate you being here, sharing your thoughts, and we're on your side. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Last thing I'd mention, after me, we do have 2 representatives from our state legislator's office who have been working to hold the line on many of these issues in Sacramento. And if you have any questions, I'm sure they'll be available for you. With that, if there's no other commissioner comments and no objection, we will adjourn. Hearing none, we are adjourned at 11:38. Thank you.